Time to start?
Yep.
Hello. My name is Zoltan Arpadffy, and I'm a CTO of Tiger Meeting. Tiger Meeting doesn't work with OpenVMS. So you ask, what is the relevance of this guy coming here and talking about VMS and this kind of interesting topics and nothing to do with that? So my background, I have been working professionally with VMS more than 15 years. I have been working in a gaming and gambling industry, Scientific Games, if you heard this company. So most of the gaming companies has been running on VMS back in a time, and also stock exchanges. So I have started to work with VMS in that time, year 2000, when VMS was the top and the best choice, what you could just imagine in this world. As you will see, the mismanagement of the product and everything. So this is where we came. And now we want to change this direction and with some ideas, make OpenVMS great again. I'm not using those methodologies like some others. Yes, but actually the goal is the same. So I really burned from VMS. So in 2012, I don't work professionally with VMS, but I have been running more than 20 years the Home. It was a free shell system that the people were able to come and work on it. And suddenly, actually, it was embraced by the open source society. Many very famous open source programs like Perl, VI, OpenSSL, OpenSSH has been developed on Home system because this was the only system back in a time where you could find more than 40 different operating systems like AIX, HPUX, VMS on different platforms. And if I'm an open source developer, I made my own program that does something, for example, parallel. I would like to be compatible with other operating systems, right? And how can you test? Because I have access to Linux maybe or Windows. Many of those developers, they don't have access to any. So accessing an AIX or HPUX or a True 64, it was almost unimaginable for the ordinary developers. So this is the reason Perl came there, and many of those open source projects came to Home. Home is dead. Actually, it's up and running. I still pay for the bill for it, for electricity bills, but it doesn't have its purpose. Why? Because nowadays everybody can use containers. These systems are virtualized, so it doesn't fit the purpose anymore. But back in a time, it was very, very useful. So I also started with open source development exactly because of VMS. Until I was in a Unix environment, in Unix and in Linux, so I got everything. I not Git at a time, but CVS back in a time, and I had C compilers, and I have all the tools what I needed back in a time. But suddenly, when I came to the VMS, you know what was my first shock? What do you think? How to change the directory. So you get a login and a username and password. Of course, we got some Windows terminals, and this was a better way because the Windows terminal was very skillful. It had colors and blinking cursors and this kind of thing. But if you get some VT terminals, it was even worse. And then when you come there and you log in, very black, you can't see anything. CD doesn't work, VI doesn't work. There is nothing. So you can't change a directory. So it was a very steep curve in order to start doing something because VMS was very, very much. And they have hired me as a consultant because of my C skills, because of my TCP/IP skills. I came there and I couldn't show what I know because I just simply can't change the directory. I suddenly. Yes, but I would say man something. This was the natural for me. And somebody told me use edit. If you want to edit a file, VMS is very logical. I start edit, and then suddenly I couldn't come out. So they told me, if you want to select a text. So you have to press gold F5 or something, then gold, and not on every keyboard there were golds. So if you were in a terminal, so there were a gold button, but not in a Windows. So where is my gold here? I just simply can't do. Then I feel, Control Z, this works, you know. But so it was very, very complicated for me. And then I start to think that there are things, you know, that I can bring here. So what I did in '98, so I ported the VI text editor, actually not a VI, so it's called Vim, the VI improved text editor that was fully open source. So and I checked how it works. So I ported to VMS, and suddenly all my life just simply changed. Until that, you know, I learned how to change directories. You live with that, but at least you were able to edit the text. You were able to compile it, to link it, and then you saw how your code is working. After a while, so I fall in love with VMS. It is just simply beautiful. It's a beautiful environment. How QIOS works, how EST works. So the file system. So VMS is beautiful, but to come there, it was a very, very hard road. So, and this is something, so in Boston, I made a presentation about that to make it a little bit easier, to make VMS similar, to make it, you know, that I'm not saying that VMS need to change. No, not at all. VMS need to keep all the things what it has. What I would like to see that VMS is for all those people who are coming outside from VMS world, that they are easily coming into that. So, for example, allow GNV on those environments that these beginners will start over. So when they log in, let they see a bash prompt. Let they be able to change directory with a CD. Let they have a VI text editor, because this is what they used to. And then later on, after a half year, several months, so when they learn the VMS, so then they will see that how beautiful it is, and it's worth the investment. But nowadays, today, if you get a new guy to come into the company and give him, here is your password, username and password, log in and do your job, it's terrible. So they will leave. That said, that there is no money, how much you can pay for me in order to do this kind of things, because I just simply can't be productive. So that was all about the relevance. So I had some experience, and because of this experience, so I burn for the VMS, and this burning gives me passion, and I'm thinking a lot, and my heart is beating for that even today. Okay, so this presentation is about to try to bridge, and this is the reason why the bridge is there, to try to bridge the OpenVMS qualities, everything that OpenVMS contains today, and somehow to marry with the open source society's positive things and what the open source society provides us. It's this one. Yeah. So the question is why this elephant is here. So I didn't want to put dinosaur there intentionally, but it is very important to understand that currently, so VMS is very famous for its reliability. It is very famous for how it handles disaster recoveries, clustering, all these things. But the people think, you know, that the VMS is somehow a closed system, very far from the modern. It is a very old system. So what should I do? How many of you have designed or worked as an enterprise architect for a company who doesn't have VMS and installed, said that, okay, I will put VMS now in the beginning? Have you done it? Yeah. Congratulations. You are the only one who I know. So I built several. I also worked for years, integration and enterprise architect. I have started casino brands like Caesars Casino or Hard Rock Casino in the States. Done many things for those companies like Scientific Games in the beginning without VMS. It's not my choice, but it was just the technology wanted to do on that way, and the price, of course. So it means that currently, today, so there is a very hard to find a justification. Why would I put VMS, exactly VMS? What is that VMS can do and the rest can't, right? Very hard to justify these kind of decisions. From other side, we from VMS side, we are well aware that this kind of clustering and disaster recovery, this Linux is just a simulation of it. It just can't do that on that way. So VMS is very secure. So for example, these, and I can talk more about, what is this one? So what are the things what we from the VMS side we have? So there are something high availability, disaster tolerance, and what is very important that it just simply works. Just today, the Camille's presentation, that it was a system 10 years uptime. Nobody knew even it works. So they realize it doesn't work when the service doesn't work. So somebody doesn't respond behind this IP address. So 40 years legacy, 40 years backwards compatibility. This is something what none of the operating system can show. None of them. And this is something what we can be proud of. Something that none of other operating systems are able to show to the community currently. But what can we do with that? So because of this, so we are backwards compatible, we are fine, we are doing. But the problem is that the whole world think that we are a dinosaur, that we don't do anything. And there is true in it. You have seen, ask the question directly. So now we are doing a right direction towards, I'm sorry, Susan is not here, but I would tell her exactly the same. So we are realizing that the Git is something that is very important, right? But we are not pushing back. We are not pushing back the code. So embracing the open source. If we want to be part of the open source, then behave like an open source. So it is not just that you're cherry picking from the open source, taking it. It is legal. So from legal perspective, you don't have any problem. But you are not bringing back. You are not giving back. And it's not just giving back. It is more that what will the open source bring you back next time in a half year when you pull the code again. Because if you push back, then this code will live there. It means that every commit, it will run the tests. It will go through the tests that the open source society does every time. So it means that even your code will be improved, get better. And of course, you will get all the improvements and new features. After 5 years, half year, you just pull the code, and then suddenly you see that everything works. If not, it's a minimal change there. And it's not that you need to do again the whole porting, how we did with OpenSSL several times during these past 15 years. Probably realize the job, right? So if 2005 or 4, when first time you did it, you push back the code. So currently, first of all, our OpenSSL will be fully compatible with that one. There will be no configuration-related issues that you need to migrate the users from one type of configuration to another part of a configuration. It will be exactly the same, and then you will have something that is fully workable. I have a personal experience with that. I have been working in a lottery business, as I told you, an Israeli company, the Toto. You probably have heard about Toto. There in Israel, there are two lottery companies, one religious and one non-religious. So the religious one is the game on skills, and the non-religious one is a luck game. So I have been working for Toto. This is a skill game, and so back in the time as an architect, security architect, they have asked me to create an algorithm, or actually a process how to upgrade and deliver software to them. So it was a very special system. The software was delivered through satellite, and they were communicating with the lease lines in the modems. And I created the software and did everything. They said, no, triple sec is not enough. These are not good enough. They wanted to have Bluefish, or I don't know. I don't remember really what kind of cipher. Check my Linux. It works. Of course, OpenSSL has it. We are already using VMS OpenSSL, so you just the compile fails. What is the problem? The problem was that the VMS SSL, it was 2 years old. It haven't had support, no upgrades, no newer version, nothing. So what I did, so I took the OpenSSL from the repository and I tried to compile. Of course, it doesn't work. Now you have to face, all the problems these guys, you at VSI or back in the time in HP, so you have been facing that doing all these with directories, with versions, how to handle. So I did this port, push it back, and I have been maintaining it maybe 2-3 years. And then after I gave up. So this is almost a full-time job. So I gave that up. But if somebody from here would do that or do immediately, so it would be just compile the code, I have it everything, and I would enable, or you would be able enable all the customers to use the most modern ciphers. And even the VSI or HP would be able. But back in the time, HP was not interested in that. HP was just mismanaging the whole code.
So so not immediately, but we have this plan, and not without Zoltan's pushing this topic all the time. We will try from starting from Git. So we will get up to the current version of Git, and we will establish all the automated code, automated testing, etc., etc. And if the system is working, we will try to push back, and we will have an up-to-date Git for OpenVMS in the common Git workflow. If it works and we can see that we can support a product like that, we will try with more complicated products, because Git is well established. We don't expect major changes all the time. So it probably won't be hard to be up to date with any changes. We have just minor updates. So we will see. Yeah,
I'm looking forward. So let's check. So now we have seen what the dinosaur is, right? So now let's check, what the open source would be able to provide for us. So currently, whenever we are talking about AWS, Google Cloud, Unix environments, Red Hat, whatever we are using around, so everything is actually built on open source products. So it is just building the whole temple, or actually, I would say the whole product on small open source pieces. So the knowledge is just to put or choose the right open source product, and then you're building up the whole your business product. Very fast. The whole every person is actually, every developer is a potential developer who can contribute. So everybody has its pain. So if you know to program, you check, this is something, what I would like to have there. Take your code, take out, check it, put it, and push it back. And this is how the open source society works. There are millions of developers who are doing. So creativity is boosting. People has a lot of ideas. So VSI has, I don't know how many, maybe 500, 300. How many developers you have? Okay, let's say Microsoft has about 25,000 developers. These 25,000 developers are not creative enough, like the several million open source. This is the reason why they are pushing. And now, so back in the time when around year 2000, it's a huge conflict between Microsoft and Linux, because Linux was slowly taking over the server environments, and Microsoft was pushing hard that no, it is not worth it. It is not performing enough good. It is Linux was cheap, available, easy to use, and exactly because of the open source society. So they have been very fast developing these features that it would be able to measure up and being equally good, or now we know that even better. So the whole Azure, who has been asking it. So Azure is running actually on Linux currently. And Microsoft is supporting the open source society now, fully embraced. And this is something that is very important to know, that even VSI need to feel this urge that to embrace the open source society, because from open source comes the innovation. I'm not saying that you don't have good ideas, but these million people around, they would have for sure more ideas than you with your 500. And this is something what is a concept currently, and this concept works very well, and everybody expects that. So, for example, if I'm a Linux developer or an architect, and they say that Kafka is available here, and then I would go, I would like on my operating system also Kafka. I wonder, when will Kafka come to VMS? So this is the question. So VMS need to be there. If you want to do those services, if you want to have those customers, if you want to have that market segment, you need to be there. And this is an operating system. So currently, the operating system that counts, so these are Windows, Linux, right? BSD maybe, and there are not many. Okay, of course, the desktop, there is Windows and Mac that goes, and there are not many. We would like to be there, because VMS is a server operating system doing perfectly, and it is an excellent operating system that would match that criteria. But we are too expensive, and we are way back in development. So we are not there. But we don't need to do a lot. We just need to open up ourselves to the open source society, and the society will embrace us. They will take us, because they will be always these pervert guys like me and all others, who are saying, yeah, I would like to have my software running on VMS. There will be many of them. And believe me, this is like a snowball. It's just growing. Okay, so this is the open source. So let's see now, what can we do with our dinosaur and this open source? Okay, so first, we need to realize that we are not in a collision. So what we want to do, we want to convert. So first, all those myths what we have here, so they need to be abandoned. So we need to publicly come out, in all media, something that yes, VMS is an open system. We are not a closed, not legacy. So we are not rigid and outdated. But yes, we are in the front line. Everybody need to know. We know that, and I see that VSI is opening towards that. Really, so you are really doing a very good job, and I see that VSI is and the product management of VSI is pointing towards that direction. But if we want to do something, if we want to get the market in 5 and 10 years, we need to start that now, and not on 5-10 years. This is the reason why I asked, what is our focus? Our focus is currently the current users, current customers, right? We have just discussed with Daria. She is well aware of it. So those current user base, so if just to put in a context, so year 2000, we had 200,000 users, 200,000 servers running across the world, mostly very good companies, huge paying customers. Currently, and it was also publicly shown, we have 800 customers. So we lost all these customers. Of course, it's not our fault. I mean, not the VSI fault. It is a mismanagement of Compaq and HP. They haven't realized what is a tendency of the market. They haven't realized that you running on a very special hardware, it doesn't lead anywhere. So you need to be like others. You need to be available, easily reachable, and efficient. And this is what VMS was not able to provide. So all those customers, these 800 currently, and probably as John told us, so there is a much bigger area, the much bigger set of customers that they are still there, who haven't heard about them because they run VMS, but probably they are ashamed of it, or they don't want to do it, or they have some licenses, pirate licenses, or they still have somebody before pension who is able to manage these systems. But this set of these potential customers where VSI is focusing is very limited. right? It's a closed set. This is not something that is growing. That everybody who was able to move away from VMS, they already did. So everything who is here, they were not able because of the compatibility issues, because the software didn't work otherwise, because moving away this very complicated business application would be very complicated or risky to move away from that system. So it means that it's there. VSI is focusing there. Of course, it is a money. It comes there. I understand that the company need to cover its cash flows, but we need to realize that this set, even if it is limited, even if we utilize all these and we make paying customers for all these set, it is just a limited set. It has borders, and this will just shrink. So it means that companies will abandon the software. The system administrator will go to pension. They will abandon the whole functionality or whatever. So it means that even if we monetize all these potential that we are currently focusing on, this is limited. If we want to live in 5 years, in 10 years, we need to shift our compass towards the new customers, like you did, right? So that a fully new customer who doesn't know anything about VMS to get it and embrace that yes, VMS is something that I want to have. Very rare occasion. Very rare that currently a system architect will choose VMS, but we need to change it. And how can we change it? First, make it very similar, like any other system, at least from the top, from the skin outside. And the second one, make it available. And all those features that they are available already on other open source platforms, so make it available here also. And this is something what we need to do. So it means that we need to do not either or, but and. So it means we need to marry open source together with our reliability. Okay, so so we were talking about that open source need to find its home. So the VMS need to have all these tools with it. We have done already some steps. There is an Apache web server. This Apache web server is not fully exactly like Git. It is exactly the same story. It is called Apache. It has some kind of relation. It is the very same code base, but it is frozen in time, back in a time. And since that, this is what is delivered to our customers. It behaves like Apache, but it will become Apache, really Apache, when you are doing your changes and you're pushing back, and then with all these improvements that will come into from the Apache source code, so that you will get it. So that the customer have a choice that either I download a VSI Apache, or I just download from my Git and do make compile or make build or whatever is a command, and I get it, and after make install, I will get it there. I know that the road there is very hard. It's not that easy. I have done at least 3 different ports from an open source to a VMS and between other operating systems. Very complicated. So VMS is not an easy task. So VMS has a very strange directory structure, very strange file structure. QIOs are very different. Handling disk IOs, handling keyboards, very complicated. It is not an easy thing, but it's something that we know. So we are aware. We have experience with that. Very skillful, 500 developers. So some of them need to have in mind whenever you are developing something, whenever you are taking. So it needs to be a VSI's, how to say, daily routine. That whenever I take an open source code, then I said, okay, I made my changes. I push it back. Push back to the open source society. Can you imagine from these? Susanna showed that there were in GitHub how many? Some 28 million repositories. Can you imagine from these 38 million repositories? I'm not saying that all of those will be, but I can imagine that they will be about 1,000, that they are very, very important. So all of them, all of those that they are in GMV, for example, they are very important. Take them and push it back. And then you will get all those. So 10,000 repositories. So all these developers who are, so I'm active in VI, for example, on OpenSSL. There are thousands, maybe several thousands developers. Can you imagine? Several thousand developers when they compile and they suddenly see if-def VMS, if-def something. So then they will program or do their own coding, keeping in mind that VMS is something very special. VMS has a 32-bit architecture and then several 64-bit architecture. You need to think about, how you are invoking how to deal with the pointers, and these are important things. All those guys will be aware. So the VMS will not be a dinosaur, that you can see just in encyclopedias, but you see in everyday life. When I'm coding, I see the VMS there. And this is something. So I learned, or I taught the whole OpenSSL and VI community that when I make a pull or a push of the code, so they do review my code exactly the same with the same criteria, but they are not surprised if they see if the VMS. And this is something what is acceptable. And this is what we need to do in all repositories. And beyond that, so we'll come a little bit later. So that what shall we do with that? So we need to play well with others. So it means that we need to be part of it, not against, not just grab and run like we are doing currently. We grab this SSL, we grab this SSH and grab this Apache, and then we release our own version of it. Instead, to put it back, push it back to the society, and let later on help us, because the society will help us. So they will give you, they will give them, give us the opportunity to pull the code later on and see our own features back. And this is something what is important. Something about these clusters. So this is just a vision. I'm not saying we are on the right way. VSI realized that this is important. I see now already. So we have been talking for years, and I see that this is, it is not me who haven't started this process. I was just one of the ambassadors who is standing behind this standpoint. But this idea comes from VSI itself as well. And this is something what is very important, that we encourage and we show that yes, this is the right way. And I think so the management realized that this is a way forward. And after one of the meetings, he said that maintaining open source, it requires a lot of energy, a lot of time. I wonder, do you agree with that? Do you really agree that maintaining an open source requires more time than every year or every second year taking out the new code and do the port again? So what do you think? What is more beneficial? Doing a small cycles? So for example, every month, or even we can ourselves run our own Jenkins and check where every time when there is a commit, run our tests. GitHub will not run for us. I had a chat with Daria that maybe we can suggest to GitHub to have some of our containers there, and beside VMS, BSD, and Mac, not BSD, yes, BSD and Mac and Windows, so to have several VMS systems as well. So in the GitHub Actions, so they can choose just simply, okay, run on VMS as well. All those projects, if it is available, because they have funding, they don't have any problem to that. So if they will be available, believe me that they will run it. VI will run it, OpenSSL will run it, and there will be many other projects that have been already ported. They will run on that.
Do you mean you want to put VMS in a container, or do we have a container platform on a port?
It does not matter.
Oh.
It does not really matter in this case. I like containers very much, and in Boston we have been discussing, that currently the VMS is we are running on a named servers. Do you know Stephen Brobst? He's a very good friend of mine. He was a CTO of Teradata. He had a very good example for that. You have a dog and a fish tank. So if a fish dies in a fish tank, so what the father does, take out that fish, goldfish, go to the shop and put a new goldfish in it. Nobody will realize what happens. But if your dog dies, then you say, "Oh, Bella died." So then it is a terrible. It is something that is terrible for the whole family because it was a part of the family. This is the situation with VMS. VMS is still a name system. It's not an ordinary goldfish that it just simply died and replaced. So we know that. I still remember. I have been working on I moved to Sweden back in the time, so I'm a Hungarian, and so when I moved to Sweden, the first VMS system that I worked, it's called Tor, and everybody knew that you need to log in to Tor and nothing else. Then later on, Tor was a VEX, and then later on, it was a Valhalla cluster, and then not an accident, and then the first Itanium was Freya in the Valhalla cluster, of course, and we knew them. So if something happens with Tor, so then everything stops, right? It's like your dog died. So we would like to migrate from this logic. So even if we are a mainframe operating system, if we are talking about containers, so we would like to have just a replacing a container. Nobody cares about name. I just have a container there that does a job and that's it, and let Kubernetes fix the thing for us. I don't care about the rest. This is where we need to come. We are not there yet, but there are very good trends and very good intentions from a VS side if we are going there. This is what I would welcome. Okay. Where are we? So we have been talking a lot about. I don't think so that we need to talk more about. We have been discussing topic about this slide. So we need to embrace this new way. So it has to be part of our. Of course, VMS is a closed code system, right? It will never be open. Nobody cares. Windows is not open either. As long as it works, no problem. But everything, all these small products that makes it more valuable, that will bring value to the customers, both from the development point of view, both for interaction or features or whatever that we come from the open source. So we need to think constantly about it. That yes, whatever we took, we made some changes, push it back to the society, and let the society develop it further. This is not very hard. Believe me, it is not that hard. It is just a matter of principles and processes what you build in a company. So my suggestion is that when we are talking about VMS, so put VMS in the context, use it for those things that it's made for, and let do other software do the other things. So, for example, when we are one of the scenario that we have a backend, and then you have a modern front end. We have already done this one with what is the name?
Web UI.
Sorry?
It's quite a generic.
Web UI, right?
UI, yes.
I didn't know what it. So Web UI is a typical such a thing.
It's an API plus a web interface.
Exactly.
Pull for just API.
Yes, and this is just but this is just for the system management. But we can use it for anything else because VMS is an open system. It functions. It has a very good TCP/IP stack. It follows all the security features, of course, by the OpenSSL that could be improved, but but we are on a very, very good way. Another one is that use something for secure data hub. And then you
VMS SPI or Web UI, you can, and Brett does it all the time. When Brett demonstrates some prototypes, he has SPI showing data to some Grafana or something like
Yeah, exactly. So just to conclude, I'm very positive. So I think so that our that VMS has all potential in order to succeed in this journey. We just need to do our part of the job, and then the rest of the society, the open source society, will do the other one. We can't control the open source society, but if you are open enough, the open source society will be open with us as well. And this is something what brings us straight to the future. So for development teams, I would recommend to be open, be innovative, join open source communities. Of course, because of the resource limitation. So think about which open source products are strategically important for VMS. But it is extremely important that you are aware of them. So because an operating system itself, maybe in 80s, it was enough, because in 80s, everybody made their own business systems and they developed their own. So it was enough just to give an operating system, a compiler, and they build their own environments and the whole thing. Currently, today, it is not enough. Currently, they would like to see a much faster pace of development of the software. So it means that they don't want to develop a Kafka from scratch, or a messaging system from scratch, or a database from scratch, or whatever. They would like to use MySQL. They would like to use different products, and they put them together like a puzzle, and this product will start to work. And this is what is the expectation from the modern society. We are able to do that, but it's very important that we are open for that. So it means that OpenVMS is open enough. I can't emphasize the GMV enough, because this is very important to start. And another one is there anybody who was working with or worked earlier with the porting library? Porting library was brilliant. So I was able to use it several times on several versions on GTK, and so this is something what we need to improve, because VMS is complicated. When you start to work with it, you will realize it. Everybody realizes it sooner or later. A porting library helped a lot. So doing one porting library, for example, that would be available or free for the open source world, this would be something. Can you imagine that I have a library that handles all these file system, QIOs, typing or listening to the keyboard pressings, file system related things. So everything there. For example, handling big letters and small letters, because if I write in DCL, I write a command, so it will be all uppercase. VMS doesn't care about. But when you write, for example, a VI code, so I said VI something, then there is a difference, if it is a dash a capital V or dash lowercase v. So these are important things. Can you imagine that everything is in the porting library? Everything is there. And then from the code, just if VMS, call something from the porting library and come back with the result. Piece of cake. I did something similar with a VI code. So there is, if you check the code, there is a osvms.c, and there is a osvms.h that actually just includes for all those functions that they are there. And then I keep the codes simple. So it means that in the Unix code, you don't see anything else, just if-def, VMS, and then it will do the job there and come back. And there is a function for Unix, there is a function, there will be some things, but actually you are not doing the code, you are not messing up. It will not be a spaghetti, and especially not in the middle of the Unix code. You're not pushing something, a huge code, now I need to handle it in VMS. Put it on a side. The open source society will like it, and the code will be easily acceptable. That's it. That was all what I wanted to say. Any questions?
Beginning, you are one of the people in this bootcamp who had a vision, and it's, I agree on all what you said. It's very important, and it's a vision. It's very important for us because we need to have VMS for decades, and to have some future. We need a vision, and I think you are very right. But my question is about what you just said could be understood as Mr. VSI, do that, do that, do that. I think there is another problem. It's our community. We are acting. We are not acting. There is a cultural VMS ecosystem where we have a big supplier and we are customers. And it's how would you propose to transform our way of doing as users of VMS? We can invest in open source, but now if you see actually there are very few people, few users of VMS who are actually doing developing open source. How can we change that?
So I think so. There are very few people who are developing a VMS because it requires a lot of skills and a lot of energy in the beginning, because we haven't had any support from the VSI, or not just VSI, HP back in the time. This would change. So if VSI would do, or actually those who are responsible for the operating system would do their part, so it means that the OpenSSL, VI, some of these 100, maybe 500, these very crucial open source repositories would have a full function, then the VMS users would just simply, because as a Unix user, what are you doing? You are either doing zipper install something or dev apt-get install something, and you are just getting the executable. But if this executable is not available, or the executable for some reason doesn't work, what a Unix or what an open source guy will do? Go to the repository, take it down, and do a make config, make install, or make build and make install. This is what they will do. There we want to come here, and then even the open source society, the VMS society will do the same. I hope that I answered the question.
We publish some repositories. Around 90% of the users only import one. They don't maintain, branch, or develop something. 90% only write one import. That is open source today.
It depends. So what kind of repository have you published?
One testing framework for Java, and some files for the test automation frameworks.
Is it good or bad? I wonder. So if I make a product and I get $100, I understand that from your standpoint it is something that is very embarrassing, right? I would feel that my code is not on a good quality. But think about if you correct these $100, so your product will be good, and then the next version will be much more stable, and there will be much less this kind of bugs. It is the normal procedure for those products that they are just starting. So they are just first time, in the open source world.
So you need the community that develop this. And if this, to go around, like he says, most of the customers, some level, they have more time to maintain some tools. Okay, SSH page, TCP IP, all fine. But if other replacements needed, I think every use case, the need of this smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So you are talking about absolutely new repositories, new things that you have just developed. Believe me that currently we are talking about OpenSSL or we are talking about VI. You will see that even in VI text there are about thousands of open issues. They are prioritized by the society, and open issues are always an opportunity for an open source developer, a newcomer or somebody, you know, I would like to be useful. I like this text editor. What can I do? This is the first question. What if normally open source developers, they don't bore. So usually you have a pain and you would like to minimize this pain. This is how it works. And then it comes, you know, that, okay, normally when you have a pain, you know what you want to fix. If you don't have a pain, but would like to be an open source developer, then you go to your favorite repository, take, you know, some check what are the issues and say, this is an easy thing. So I see already in the code, I fix it, you know, and this is how you start with that. My journey was a little bit different, but because I had a huge pain, I was on an operating system that I haven't had my text editor that I had in my fingers. So I made actually the whole journey myself, you know. And I was very happy that Bram Morinar, who just passed away last year, so he finally somebody, you know, on the VMS, and he took it and it was in. So VMS was one of the beginning, one of the operating systems that was a major operating system there supported. Back in the time when we haven't had GitHub Actions, haven't had continuous integration, we didn't know about these kind of things. We were testing ourselves, we were checking, he was responsible for merging, but then suddenly when it came into the GitHub, then you saw, you know, that there are full of bugs, even if it is such a product that is well accepted in the world and everybody's using. So currently you take your Mac or take your any Linux, you will see that one. And if you go into that, so you will see on one of the first 3 lines, my credits there. So it's that who did that. And it's full of bugs, but it's millions of people who is watching that, they see that, and they try to fix it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you say edit the code and push it back. But let's happen that you can't simply do this. At least you have to do pull requests that will be rejected right away or hang there forever.
Why reject?
And yeah, I'm aware that VMS software tried to communicate with Python community to push VMS related code to the repository of Python, and they refused it. I don't know why.
But there must be a reason.
These communities, this community for big projects like languages, compilers, they have very strict guidelines. They have very strict acceptance criteria for code quality, and they have to be able to test it. So they have to have environment to include it to their testing environment. And I know that you committed to Beam repository. You committed VMS related code. So have you encountered these problems?
Never. Never.
So they just knew you that this works and they accepted these changes, or did they test VMS related code and how did they?
It works on that way, but there are not that many people who are doing these VMS commits. So there are if there are 100 from Linux, so there will be 1 or half from VMS. Usually the open source society, there are or these repositories, they have continuous integration on it. They are running usually on Windows, Mac, and BSD and Linux. these are that I saw that they are running always. So when you always the process goes like this. So first you make not a branch. What is the name? Sorry, no, not a request. There is a special word for it when you are clone, not clone. Sorry, sorry, fork. Exactly. So you fork it. So when you first you fork it. So then in your branch you develop whatever you want, and when you are ready with that one and you think that it's fine, so then you create a pull request. And with the pull request, it will just come there. But when you created already a pull request, it will come in back into the main repository, and they will run their own continuous integration on it. So it means that your pull request will be with the current code, the main, plus your pull request merge, and they will run the continuous integration test, all of them. If you pause them, it means that your code is ready for the review. After that one will be a manual code review. So it means that they will say, why you have done it, on that way? Why you have used? Why was it necessary? And then it comes the conversation, that I was doing because of that one, or because I have a VAX, and VAX is a 32-bit one, and it doesn't have this. It can't use this pointer. This is the reason why I was doing it. Or there is no these kind of constants or some include files or something. So you meet a lot of these kind of things. But once you are able to explain them, so then this code will run. It doesn't mean that it is runs on VMS. It's your responsibility. But at least they are happy that it will run on that. And here comes the point. I'm sorry. Here comes the point. So either we give our own software. So I mean that our virtual machines to GitHub and let they use it. And this would be my preferred solution. Another one is, because VSI is a company with a high reputation, you run your own continuous integration. So it means that whenever something happens there, you run your own Jenkins. You pull the code there and run the VMS related one. And then if you run that one and you find anything, then you make it. Usually there are small changes. So if you are keeping up constantly, there will be a small changes. So if I don't know what is the VSI's cash flow and how much money we have and how it works, but I would definitely allocate some part of the development team for maintenance, what we have currently. Make our customers satisfied, make them happy, put them all what they need. Another team that will do the future of the VMS, base development. Nobody will pay for it, but this is something what is very important for our future, because of the compatibility, new platforms, architectures, new compiler. I don't know what.
Nobody's paying now either. So
yeah, and there will be another part. Maybe I would say 10-15% of the company or developers who would be responsible for open source related monitoring.
it's the same team. It will be just different, because right now, yes, we are pulling like once in a half a year, or like we have agreement for somebody. It's like they have a cycle twice a year. Major release. We take every second because we are unable to like make every single one. So with Git, we will probably pull everything. Test on our side if it works after some change. If it doesn't work, we make a fix. It runs tests again. If it works, then we push back. So then, yes, on Git side, we probably want to check if it works in general. Again, like it doesn't break everything. If it doesn't, then we agreed with some ambassadors that they will test the VMS part. They are okay with that, and they will say, yeah, from the VMS community, I guess we're fine. Then the version leaves. So and I investigate the requirements for Git stuff. The Git team does it, but I also looked into it about like what are the steps. And Git is pretty clear. It's like keep your VMS parts away from all the general stuff. So it's like if you will try to change some general stuff without a reason, you will be asked why, maybe rejected. So we have all the VMS related stuff regarding Git separate. It was just for our convenience, but it was also good for them. So then we will see. Git is probably an easy thing, and yes, with some fixes from the community, it will be easier, but we are not sure. Because I mentioned Samba, we have multiple Sambas because we have multiple SSLs. So we have to port and we have to provide several versions. It's a problem. So if the system works in general, we will try with more complicated products like that. Because maybe it will actually solve problems, but we
Like for Python, as an example, there's a lot of people talk about projects. They compile a link to people use Python, people use Python. So I just want to connect the application on the platform. So it would be good for Python and obviously way that you guys do. Also think so.
But have you tried to commit personally or from the organization?
No, it wasn't me. It was initial development of ported Python. So
Okay.
I have to say, very important issue of that fact. It's about collaboration. There, BSc, I think we have experience about that. It's very difficult now to work in collaboration with DSI. For example, Python has been a nightmare because in France, we have Jean-François Piron, who has make a lot of work on Python. And DSI, 1 year after that, did another part of Python, which was compatible with the work of Jean-François Piron. And DSI didn't take the phone to speak with Jean-François Piron. It's just an example. It's old story. We pardon, but we forgive. But the point is, if VSI could understand, there are a lot of people who want to help VSI in this work of doing open source. It will be a win-win, as we said in business. There is a lot of people in the community of VMS who can do a lot of things and help on the development of open source for VMS. But for now, it's impossible to collaborate. And first, because I think VSI has the willing of that. We don't know why, but it's a fact. And second, we have not the tools, because I want to help VSI about Python, about the OpenSSL, or everything. I can do anything because I have not the sources. There is no pushing of that. And so even if I want to help the VSI on some subjects, I know I can do it because I know a lot of things like Python, etc. I can do anything.
We want to see how it will work, but yeah, right now, well, there is a way, but it's just about raising tickets, and we are taking them in, and it is a part of the development of.
My point, what I want to say is not okay. It's crazy, okay, but I know VSI has this problem, cash flow, etc. Okay, my point what I want to say is you can get a power of development, which is an opportunity for you. So get it. It's simple than that. You think like we can do perhaps in 6 months about that. No. Do take the opportunity to have some new strengths.
Yeah, but let's see what happens. Because first we need to set it up on our side, so we will be sure. But okay, nightly comes, and we have ways to test it and see if it works. Because if we start trying to work with community, like pushing something, and we won't have that in order, we will get rejected. Like, guys, you just pushed something yesterday, it doesn't work. What did you want to do? So we need to work it on our side, and when we are ready to push, we will push back.
You know, in the open source community, there's something which exists is you have the right of evil. You can do things not so good, and the community is there to say to you, okay, you did that and that and that is very good, and yeah, there is a problem here. So don't be shy.
Exactly. I have a funny story about it. So back in the time, I told you, so the QIO is very complicated. Everybody who coded VMS knows that the QIO is such a 500 pages book, and it is very complicated. And of course, you know, when we are talking about text editor, so the keystrokes are important. So what I did, you know, the Linux or actually the ordinary C, I don't know what was the function name, some select function. So it didn't really work. I don't know why. So it should be compatible, but it didn't work. So no keystrokes in my just newly ported editor. So I said, okay, I don't have anything else to do. So every time, you know, when I want to go a keystroke, so yeah, make a buffer, take it there, use QIO. It worked. Bang, bang. It worked. No problem. Okay, I put it on my website. Everybody was happy. In about some months or something, from NASA, can you imagine? Me, Zoltan, the small guy, you know, programmer, you know, in Sweden. I got a mail from NASA. So they said that we are using your VI, but the problem is that when you're using the text editor, the CPU tops 100% constantly. So this is what you described. So the open source accepts something that works. It's not necessarily the most skillful is doing the job. It's not necessarily, but at least if the job is done, we are one step forward. Because if we are waiting for the most skillful guy, so probably the job will never be done because we can't pay. This skillful guy is not interested. They are doing something else. So we small people, we are the open source. So every hand, every small brain, every character, every strike would help, you know, in order to push forward all this movement. And this is how it started. And this is why so you contribute what you can. And then there will be somebody who will say, there is a better way to do that. So and suddenly, so I made some change with it. So I put a wait sequence. So it means that you can't type that fast, you know, but I was at least waiting because a QIO without a wait sequence, it will just, it works very well, but it will top the CPU. And then suddenly came a guy, I don't remember who, said that, okay, do it on this way. So I think so it was a buffer read. So the length of the buffer with the weight, so you read it constantly. I had some problem with because I had some complicated escape sequences. So when it was the end of the buffer, the escape, so the escape and the column, it was in a two separate part of the buffer, and it didn't work. But we solved it at the end. But this is how open source works. Funny stories, but this is how it brings forward. And believe me, this OpenSSL, what you are using currently, all the 3 versions, they are developed by the guys, by me, you, and you. So these guys who are not the best programmers in the world, but we want to help. So VSI could position itself as like Red Hat positioned itself in a Linux world. So they are putting some energy. They are developing themselves a lot. They are doing themselves a lot of things, but they are also gaining a lot because Red Hat is not for free. You pay for support. There is a Redshift. What is a Redshift? Redshift is just a bunch of open source things, you know, what you put together. So this is how it works. We are paying huge amount of money for AWS. So AWS, everything that is beneath the AWS, it's open source. They just put the things together. This is what you need to do. Yeah, it's easy. Thank you very much. It was much longer. I'm sorry for it. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to go and build Amazon.
Yes, yes.